Today, we're going to be talking about wedding videography prices and everything you need to know about them. So let's get right into it. Let's go. All right, so my name is Matthew Harris. I run a video productions company in Cleveland called Blitz Studios. We specialize in wedding videography services and have been doing it for over 5 years now. So I've learned a thing or two about pricing along the way. So to start, it's important to understand the marketplace of wedding videography services because it can be kind of all over the map. So on the low end, you're gonna have people just starting out, not a lot of gear, not a lot of experience, and they might only charge you $500 to $1,000 to film your wedding. On the high end, you're gonna be hiring production companies that are going to be bringing cinema cameras, and they're gonna be charging you, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 per wedding. So I think when you're starting to look on your journey, it's kind of important to understand your budget and having realistic expectations of what you can get out of that budget. Because obviously, if you only have $1,500, your wedding video is probably not going to look like the same quality as that production company charging $5,000. To be more specific, because it's a lot easier for me to talk about my business, I'm gonna focus on my pricing. This is just one example. There's other ways people have made business models out of wedding videography. We have certain tools that keep track of all of our time. So there's science behind the pricing and there's data to support how long these wedding videos take. And that's where we base our business model around the time commitment of doing a wedding. So when you look at the cost of wedding videography services, it's not as simple as just showing up, hitting the camera, pressing record and calling it a day. There's a lot of different factors that go into the pricing, and it mainly revolves around the time commitment to film the wedding, because filming the wedding is just the beginning of our job. There's a ton of work we do in post-production services. When you look at our pricing, you can see it breaks down into 3 different packages: the bronze, gold, and platinum. And all these packages are pretty much based on 2 types of services: 1, on-location production, and 2, post-production and editing time. So each package comes with 2 people, so obviously that's going to be more expensive on the per hour basis. And those range roughly from $100 to $200 per hour, depending on the package that you choose. Just to give you a basis, each package requires 2 videographers on location from 6 to 10 hours. You'll get the full length edited videos of like your ceremony, introduction, speeches, cake cutting, first dances. So all the main events, you'll have nice edited 4K files that we give our clients. And then really the differences amongst the packages are going to be like the length of the highlight video and the total amount of highlight videos you get. For example, the bronze package, which is $2,200, comes with 6 hours on location with 2 videographers, the full length edited videos of your main events, and a 1.5-minute highlight recap. So breaking down the $2,200, the 6 hours on location at $200 an hour adds up to $1,200. So after you get through the production with the 6 hours at $200 an hour, you still have $1,000 left, which is our time devoted to the post-production process. So for the bronze package on the post-production side, we bill our post-production services at $75 an hour. Now, the $1,000 pretty much means it takes us about 10 to 15 hours on an average per wedding to get the editing done. Now, not all weddings are the same, so sometimes take a little bit longer and sometimes are a little bit shorter, and that's just kind of the nature. But breaking down those post-production hours, I kind of want to walk you through the process of our editing so you know we're not just billing you random hours. This has been a strategic process that I put in place. I measure our time, I keep track of everything, so it's very accurate to how much time it actually takes. So the first thing that we do when we're editing is we're going to back up and organize all the data. Now, this means that, after a wedding, we might have 250 to 500 gigs of data, which is quite a lot, especially when you compare it to like wedding photography. They might only have like 50 to 100 gigs at the end of the day. So we got to make sure that we're protecting your data. So we're double backing it up to hard drives, we're backing it up to a cloud, and that can already take, 1 to 3 hours to do. We also have to organize the folders. So typically, we're going to rearrange the media for like your ceremony, your reception, your bridal party, that kind of stuff. So that takes a little bit of time to make sure that we have all the data from the day, that we're not missing a side angle or like an audio clip or something like that. So once we get into the editing, the first thing we have to do is create the library, and then we have to create proxies. And the reason we're creating these things called proxies is that we're shooting on sometimes the highest 4 and 6K settings that the cameras offer, and these are very CPU intensive files. So the editing software actually creates duplicates that allows you to edit in real time at a much faster speed. However, the computer has to process every single clip from your wedding and create a duplicate. So this can already add another 1 to 3 hours just to proxy the footage alone. So once we've gotten through the organization and the proxying process, now it's time to dive into the editing. This is the fun part. We'll start with the main events. So we'll take your ceremony. We're gonna take the 3 different angles. We're gonna match them up, embed the audio, and then we're gonna cut between the best shots throughout the ceremony. Once we're done with that, we're gonna apply color grades and filters, smooth out the audio, and make sure that everything looks good, the camera colors match, and it looks natural. And then we do one more pass through just to make sure we don't have any sloppy cuts, that everything looks smooth, and so forth. So we do that not just for your ceremony, but for your introductions, your speeches, your cake cutting, your first dances, everything I like to call the main events. And so this can usually take us about 4 to 8, sometimes even 10 hours to get through all the full-length main events. And then from there, we move on to the highlight video. Now, the highlight videos definitely take a long time as well because they require a lot more creative input and more kind of cinematic skills. Typically, we start by finding the right music. So I like to try to get to know my couples a little bit and see kind of what kind of music would fit best just from getting to know them. And then typically I'll send them 3 to 5 song selections for them to pick from. And just looking for music alone could add up, an hour and a half trying to find the right song for them. The cuts are a lot quicker on the highlight video. So, now we're cutting every 1 to 5 seconds in different clips. And we obviously have to match up to the music, and then we color grade the footage, and then we apply, visual effects and make it look nice. So the highlight video for the bronze package, which is like 1.5 minutes, typically will take another 4 to 8 hours to do, which you can see that easily makes up that 10 to 15 hour range of the video editing. Finally, there's also the client re-edit side of things, where when we send the videos, we want to make sure that our clients are happy and that they have a chance to have input, because I believe that, these are your wedding videos, so we're just kind of creating them tailored to you. And so I definitely want to make sure that our couples have inputs. Whenever we send the videos, we give them 2 rounds of corrections. So if they see anything they like or they want to add, they have that opportunity to do so, which then that could add another, 1 to 3 hours of editing for those client re-edits. That's a really good example of just the basics of pricing as a whole. Other things to consider are like the equipment we bring on location. So here at Blitz, we're a full service video production company. So we're bringing at least $10,000 of equipment to every wedding, probably more along the lines of $20,000 to $30,000. So obviously that time commitment and that money investment I've made, I have to get some level of return on it. So that's one thing that affects wedding videography prices across the board, is like the level of equipment and also the experience that the videographers are bringing. Obviously, someone that has been in this industry for 20 years is going to be a lot more expensive than your friend that just graduated from college who's starting his wedding videography business. That doesn't necessarily mean that experience is always going to be the best fit, because I think you have to look at examples and decide what videographer style you like the best, because sometimes that people have been doing it long enough, it just becomes another day of work for them. And I think it's really important to remember that these are weddings and these are some of the most important and impactful moments of people's life. So it's not just another day of work for us. And I really try to go that extra mile to make sure that my clients notice that. So really the main factors that are going to affect wedding videography pricing is going to be the time on location, the amount of videographers, the post-production time required to edit the videos, and the level of skill the videographer has and the type of equipment they're bringing. I hope that provides some clarity and transparency on what makes up our wedding videography packages, but also gives you a little bit of knowledge on what goes into wedding videography services. And that's not as simple as just showing up and shooting the day of. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into these, and we want to make sure that our packages reflect our brand standards and we're not just cutting corners. So I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, if you're interested in learning more about our wedding videography services, definitely reach out to me. Check out our website. If you like this and you want to know more about wedding videography content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be pumping out wedding videos for days. We got a full schedule booked for 2023. Catch me outside. How about that?